What's up, folks? As you can maybe hear by my voice, last week I was sick. As a result, I ended up losing a lot of time and haven't been able to finish editing a video or a podcast for today. Instead, I figured I would give myself a little bit more time because next week's podcast is going to be insane. And I would collect 5 tips from the previous 30 guests, which have helped me the most to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And let's start with tip 1.
Do you have any advice for anybody who's trying to figure out what path is right? What makes most sense for me to follow?
I'm going to give an advice that I wish I also follow. But I think that for me, I think it's a bit ridiculous to think that all our passions should become our work, or that we need to find a perfect work that is our perfect passion. So if you have all those passions, which sound actually really awesome, farming, baking, but also urbanism and computers and marketing, choose one or two that you can combine. For instance, marketing farmers in Friesland. This can be a cool combination. And for the rest, why not just make it a hobby? Why everything should become a work? If we like baking, sometimes it's even nicer to just bake every week to our friends and not turning it into a business.
Yeah.
I like making hummus. It's definitely not good enough to open a hummus restaurant. So of course, I could sit all day long and think about plans to open a restaurant and try to do it and hire staff and get into depth and get bad reviews, or I can just invite my friends once a month for a plate of hummus and try to enjoy it. So I think it's also something for our generation that we really think that we need to live all our dreams and definitely make them work, because that's the only way that work will be meaningful.
I think there are 2 things that we could teach better to very young people. I mean, when we're talking like young people. I think the first one is there is always C. Usually when there's a problem, there could be solution A or solution B. And whether that's 2, 4, 6, or 8 solutions doesn't matter. If the solution that is offered to you or that you can find is not the one you need or won't fix your problem, then actually being creative makes sure there's an answer C. It's something that's just not there yet, but it could be.
Yeah.
Everyone is creative in their own ways, and not everyone will be able to find these solutions. But I do think everyone can understand that there's always the opportunity to find or build a new solution. Mm-hmm. That is something that just came natural to me. So if I ran into a wall, I was like, okay. So either it's walking around it, finding a ladder, shooting myself from a giant cannon, whatever. I'm going to get over this wall.
Right.
You know, if you only know a ladder or the way around, then I think it's important for everyone to understand that there are people in this world that can think of cannons.
You mentioned that creativity when solving that problem is essential. And you also said yourself that you're a creative guy.
Yes.
For those who don't consider themselves creative, does this then become a problem, or is it also there again more of it's not a literal creativity, but it's like figuring out ways to...
Again, I really think that you can understand something without being good at it.
Yeah.
And so...
Trying by doing then.
Yeah, but also everything is for sale.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm not good enough in numbers like most of the people in the world, we get accountants.
Yeah, exactly.
If we are too busy and we don't have time, but we do want to live properly, we get a cleaner for the house. It's not that I can't clean.
Yeah.
It's that I don't have the time.
Right.
So buying the time back, you can't buy time. So freeing time is the only virtue you have. And for me, it's not just the time. It actually stresses me out to think about something as simple as cleaning or doing laundry, because it's such a different skill. I mean, everyone can, do the wash or clean your house. That's not an issue at all. It's just that the amount of effort that it takes me to do it and the amount of time, if I work and do my thing, that makes me happy. So being creative or whatever, that then makes me happy. That also makes me more money than it costs to get a cleaner and gets me the time back. So
right. even that is a creative solution
Even
around
that is
the
a creative
problem, right?
solution. Exactly. And this, for me, like if you can get a cleaner, if you can get an accountant, you could also have a creative person on speed dial.
On that topic of being located in Enschede, obviously Moneybird is growing pretty quickly, and I think there might be a lot of other entrepreneurs that would then make the decision to move more towards sort of Amsterdam, the Randstad, where talent is like it's subjective.
Absolutely,
that's why I do this, but that is somehow a normal move that people would make. Why do you not do that?
I think it's a little bit of a stupid move because talent is here also, and there are less startups in Enschede that are fighting for the talent compared to Amsterdam. It depends a little bit on also the kind of business. We serve small enterprises, and they are everywhere in Holland. We don't need to go to these people. We don't invite our customers to our office, so it doesn't matter where we are. Even if we would be completely remote, our customers wouldn't notice. So having this office doesn't really matter. And I hear a lot of people saying, "Okay, I need to have this presence in Amsterdam or in the Randstad somewhere." So they start an office which is very expensive and a hustle to get to every time. And I don't think it's really worth that effort. Maybe if you really have international customers that flying into Schiphol and want to be on the Heergracht in some kind of fancy office, then it might help. But I think for most companies, you really should focus on the business. And I saw a lot of startups starting in Amsterdam during the time we started with Moneybird. Great startups, but there was always something going on for startups. They could go and do an event every night. And I think not having an event every night, but only once a month, kept us focused on the growth of Moneybird and what needed to happen, compared to only being active in really the startup scene and not really building on your startup maybe.
Interesting. But it sounds then like you're very aware of, how do you say that? Not getting too caught up in these status things, the having a big fancy office, and even though you have a beautiful office, don't get me wrong, but in Amsterdam, whatever, that these things take you away from the sort of things that are important. Where does that awareness come from, in your opinion?
I think it's also with maybe a little bit the Twentse nuchterheid, so down to earth, and also maybe it comes also back again to being more of a product designer and a software engineer. Things need to be practical. So for an office, we have a great office, but it's absolutely not the most fancy office you can find. We actually had quite a fancy office before this office, with great high ceilings and all. That was in the former brewery of Grols over here. It was a great office, but it was completely unusable because there was always echoes and sound issues, and it was too hot or too cold. Or I think as an engineer, you admire the practicalities of these things, and you need to empower your team to do the great things, and that's not always tied to status or to the most fancy things, but just be things that work and that are functional. And that's also how we build Moneybird. It needs to be functional. It doesn't need to be. We never built the landing page first and then we think about features. We first build features, and more than once we forgot to update the landing page with the new features we had because we are not really the marketeers. We were more the product designers.
I lived 1 year without a house, so which for me was also strange to share that on LinkedIn. Looking at my professional lives and the collaborations I had done with large corporates, and then I'm just going to post I'm Carlijn, I'm living in a tent. So that felt a bit weird, but I felt it was important to share that as a reminder of what really makes us happy in a day, what you really need. And my intention was not to convince everybody to go live in a tent, but just to rethink what you need in your life. And what makes you happy and how little you actually need. It was funny, up front, there were a lot of things I was thinking, but that's not possible, or that's not normal, or you can't do that, or something. It's really funny how your ego starts seeing problems, which in the end aren't there. And I'm lucky to have also experienced like more, comfortable life or luxurious life. But in the end, the things that make me happy are the same things. So it's like the sunrise, the cats, being with friends, going for a walk by the sea, just the small things, good food.
Yeah.
So I realized it's quite easy to do that, and how little you actually need. So, for example, living there without, living off grid, so you don't have access to water, but then with big water tanks, like with 100 liter a week, you have sufficient amount of water.
How would you describe yourself as a confident person in regards to entrepreneurship, or just in general?
In general, pretty, yeah.
How important is that in making a business a success?
Well, I do believe that doubt is very healthy, just not too much.
Right.
Because at some point you need to move forward, right? And nobody knows. I mean, this morning we were on a team call with the leadership team, so with my co-founder and with Lisa, our CMO. There came a question like, okay, how do you see this projection? And we just didn't know. But also not knowing and being clear about that. So we have a lot of doubts about this projection, but this is the best we can do, and now we need to move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's very important, right? In the end, that you are able to move forward and keep pace as a team, keep pace as a company, even when you doubt. But if the doubt is too big, of course, you first need to find a way to solve that.
Yeah.
But starting, especially in the beginning, starting with a lot of doubt, I think is very difficult.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes, I mean, everyone has those moments, but you should just get over them and find a way to solve it.
If you've enjoyed listening to this episode, this little recap, do consider subscribing. It helps me out a ton. It allows me to keep doing what I absolutely love. And be sure to tune in next week, because we have an interview with one of the Netherlands' biggest YouTubers. Thanks for watching.